Happy Saturday evening. I wanted to come on and just talk a little bit about the quantum field and thought forms and just the ascension process, the purification process, and just really understanding how our thought forms truly calibrate. So the best way that I can sort of explain this is that everything within your consciousness is you. There's no escaping it. And why this is so important in terms of Earth School, the ascension process, and what essentially every soul is trying to achieve here is the complete knowing of what you are as a vibrational entity and what you are as a consciousness. So why is it so important to pay attention to our thoughts, and what are our thoughts really telling us about where we're at in the process? So again, thinking on the spectrum that right and wrong is essentially a human linear kind of construct, but I don't want to suggest that things that are lower vibrational, which we deem as wrong, are not, distorted. 100% they are. And I'm not saying that I condone those actions or those deeds or that manifestation. But we do have to understand through the mechanism of forgiveness that we also have to forgive ourselves and others for highly distorted thoughts, actions, deeds. And I know that also sounds really difficult. But again, it's an individual journey, and I want to explain it in the best terms I can. And again, some of these concepts are difficult to teach, but nonetheless, they are, essential for humanity. And so when we're talking about our internal world, so you can never hide from the field. You can never hide from God or that universal force, because again, it is all pervasive, it is all knowing. And anything that you think or you play out or you fantasize about in the landscape of the mind still affects the field. And there's actually, in terms of the way that you are expressing to the field or the way that you're interacting with the field, I think a lot of times it's taught, or especially from a religious standpoint, that it is our actions that are highly judged, or really what is judged. And of course that's true to some extent, but what is sometimes forgotten is the very thought forms that exist within you are your blockage to ultimate purification, the ultimate expression of your soul's ascension and journey here. So anything that you play out on the screen of the mind is still you. And I know that that can feel like a hard pill to swallow, but if it exists within you in your consciousness and you think about it and you play it out in your mind, it is still, whether you like it or not, part of you, and it is interacting with the quantum field. So what does that mean? Or can I express this in a more applicable example so that you can really understand what I'm talking about? Because what I want to impart and what I want to teach is that the goal of ultimate purification is an all-encompassing journey. It is your spirit, your mind, your body, your actions, your thoughts, the very vibrational emanation of what you are. So you cannot discount your imagination, and it is such a powerful force, and you must attend to it. It must be something that you watch for and you're watchful of. okay? I had to quickly remake the second part of this video because there's no audio on it, so I'm glad I checked. But back to that example, okay? So in terms of our thoughts and how, to create an applicable example so that I'm teaching this correctly. Let's say you're somebody that watches a lot of, the news, maybe reality shows or true crime, something like that. And then you start to get these pervasive, fearful thoughts, and you start imagining scenarios like somebody breaking into your house or, pre-planning. I mean, this is how a lot of these doomsday, people that think the end of the world is going to happen, and they really kind of go off the deep end in terms of like shooting guns and hiding food, and, can really distort their consciousness to thinking some really strange things to the point where it takes over their lives. And again, this is like an example of distortion of fear just completely taking hold of somebody with not a lot of logical, not a lot of logical facts or things that are in reality. It's grabbing information from the news media, really starting to see the world as a dark place and allowing that to take over, the mind and really the expression of the self into this sort of crazy conspiracy theorist, instead of viewing the world as safe and loving and kind and a place that you're okay. And okay, certainly there's going to be instances where you're in, a war-torn country and the world is actually very much unsafe. But I'm talking about when people are doing it when society is fairly safe. And then there's the other side of things too. I mean, we all know areas within our municipality or our town where, you don't want to go to those areas because, again, it's not the best part of town, right? And even if you don't live in the best part of town, because I've had experiences in my life where I haven't lived in the best part of town, I still know where not to go to get myself into trouble. And I still surround myself with light and love and positivity as much as I possibly can. This also has, far-reaching effects in terms of the rabbit holes we choose to go down. So, what we choose to look at online in all aspects is part of who we become. So envision it like this: if God or somebody could read and experience every thought you had, every fantasy, everything that you are seeing in that internal, what you deem as secret place inside of yourself that you think nobody knows about or hears about or, can tap into, that's the real you. And that's always my benchmark, is that, would I be able to share whatever is popping into my consciousness with the people I respect the most? My grandparents have passed away, but my grandma and grandpa, I always benchmark it against that. Is it a conversation? Is it a dialogue? Is it an imagining that I would share with the people that I respect the most? And if there's any aspect of that imagining or that playing out of an idea or a form in my internal world that I couldn't be proud of, then I immediately identify it as something that I don't want to stay with. It's a thought I don't want to think. And that's how we purify our aura, our auric field, and the expression of what we are is by paying diligent attention to anything that pops into our head. And sometimes, if we're very empathic, we can pick what I can often, if I'm in close proximity to somebody, pick up exactly what they're thinking. And all of a sudden, I'm like, where did this, train of thought come from? Because it's not coming from me. And I'm instantly getting a window into that other person's consciousness. And sometimes it's not, ideal. It's kind of dark. And so I immediately separate myself from, immediate kind of contact with their auric field, and then really reground myself and make sure that, again, try to figure out what was my, how this energy popped into my field. And why does it matter so much to learn about these things? Why should we care or, seek to take a different path? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's how we make a better world. And the only way that we really change the landscape of planet Earth, in every country, in all, regions and walks of society, is to change first the minds of people. And that is a personal journey. I mean, that is the focal point. If you have some sort of deep desire to help save the world in any type of way, the first journey is to rectify yourself, to adjust the self to the point of a return to innocence, a return to righteous thinking, thoughts of integrity, and really paying attention to what you are on all levels. And that's a difficult task because, again, the mind wanders. The mind creates all sorts of, it's the labyrinth of smoke and mirrors, of temptation, of whatever you want to call it. There's always going to be things that the mind perceives as exciting or, something entertaining, some sort of entertaining passageway to take. Consciousness is, especially here, especially on planet Earth, it is absolutely governed by the principle of free will. So everything and anything that any mind can imagine 100% can become a reality here. We've seen it throughout history, whether it is, taking entire families into gas chambers and burning them, or, just some of the things that, if you look back through history, are just crazy when you really think about it. Because again, it's not like the stuff that human beings do ever happens in the animal kingdom or ever happens with other life forms. There's such a pervasive respect in all other delineations of life and existence on this planet. Okay, every other creature is governed by and respects the laws of creation, and it doesn't take more than it needs. It gives back to the earth. It cares for their young. Does anything. In the animal kingdom, these creatures care for their young. They don't abandon their young. They're not out doing drugs and drinking and some of the things we see going on in society with human beings would never happen in the animal world. And yet somehow humans put themselves above the natural world in some twisted, demented, distorted way that, yes, we have intelligence. Yes, we do. We have immense intelligence, but we don't have immense respect, and we don't have a lot of self-control when it comes to the equilibrium that we need to create to have sustainability on this planet and to be the best version of ourselves. And again, it's a personal journey. It starts with the individual. It starts with the diligent obedience to purification in all aspects. It has to be a daily practice. It has to be something that you desire more than anything else, more than your own personal entertainment, more than your greed, more than your own ego, whatever it is. It has to be something that is such a deep quest within you that it is the paramount mission of your life to be attentive to your own thought forms, to be attentive to what you are transmitting, because whether you like it or not, you can't hide from yourself. You're always going to know what's on the inside of who you are, and that can be tough. That can be a difficult journey. You have to look at all of the aspects of shadow within yourself. I'm talking a a lot about it being a difficult journey, which it is. The high road is not the easiest road to travel. The low road is easy in some regards. Now, in terms of investments, it's, your payoff for taking the easy way out is always a quick payoff. You don't have a lot of hard work, and it might be a lot of fun and entertainment, or cheap entertainment in the beginning. Taking the high road it's going to be difficult, because it takes practice. It takes a sort of iron will, but it pays off down the road. It is that long-term investment in yourself, in a better world, in teaching yourself to be an example to others. And as others see you walking this path, and the rewards that are given for walking this path, because again, it's not an immediate reward, and you can't even do it for a reward. But because of the way that being as innocent and full of integrity and right action as you can possibly be, as it does align with the laws of the universe, it will magnetize towards you peace, abundance, stability, self-love, love for others, unconditional love for others. And when you start transmitting a vibration of unconditional love and purity and right thinking and right actions, things will start to happen that are unexpected, that are, again, almost kind of divine, but it's because you're calibrating to that frequency of that which is sacred. And that's the quest, to become one with that ultimate expression of creation, which is what all creation was designed to be. And again, your distortions are allowed, because that's the mechanism of learning. Anything that you think or act out in the three-dimensional world, it's allowed. It's going to have its consequences, but it's allowed within the system of learning. Your soul is allowed to learn through your mistakes. But it's when a soul keeps making those mistakes over and over and over again, it will be mirrored back to you. I mean, there'll be karmic consequences, and things will happen that should prompt you into changing your behavior. But a lot of individuals just don't. They just don't ever take that step to change. And then they wonder why they're in a situation that seems heavy and negative. And, again, then they just end up projecting bitterness and hatred onto the world, which is just a transmission of very low vibrational frequency. And then they escape through generally a lot of low vibrational, escape mechanisms. And then they wonder why they're in the same position, only older, and none the wiser. So if any advice I can give, it is to pay, really close attention to those things which are unseen, to the things which you think that no one else can hear, that go or see, which is what is going on within your mind, because that is the most important journey you ever have to take, is the journey of the purification of the mind, because the consciousness is so closely, the consciousness is the spirit. The spirit is the vibrational footprint or blueprint of what you are, is your spirit, but your consciousness is that ever-pervasive eternal part of you that is going with you wherever you go, that sort of trinity, right? So hopefully you enjoyed this little Saturday night insight. So that's another aspect of this, is that when we become increasingly spiritual, when we start to really calibrate to those upper sort of echelons in terms of our frequency, there are capabilities that open up. And one of them is because, again, the more truth we embody, the more we can actually understand manipulation and distortion. It almost becomes something that we can sense immediately. Because again, we know ourselves. We understand what it is to reside in this sort of pervasive, all-encompassing truth. And so when we end up interacting with individuals that are not expressing themselves in their highest vibrational alignment, because again, everything is always in flux. So that's again why we don't really or shouldn't really use the mechanism of judgment, because again, we're here to learn. Others are here to learn. It's not our role here to judge them. We can experience them, and through our experience of them, we can decide if we need to move away from whatever distortions they are currently expressing as. But it's not our job to judge them, because we don't know what came before. We don't know all the intricacies of that individual. But it is important to express the fact that there are times when you will be in the presence of another person and you will be able to read them like a book. You will be able to understand all of the layers that exist within them and see their thoughts, feel their thoughts. I have this happen to me all the time. And a lot of times for me, and again, everybody's going to be different, how this sort of sixth sense appears for them. But for me, it's eye contact. When I have eye contact with somebody, it's like an instant transfer of information. I'm not somebody that can necessarily, be worlds away from somebody and feel their energy. I know that there are mediums out there that claim to be able to do that. I'm not like that. And in terms of mediumship, would I call myself a medium? I don't think so. I mean, I have no interest in reading people's fortunes or telling their fortunes, and I don't really believe in that anyways, because everything is always in a state of impermanence. So from what happens within a 10-minute span changes the field anyways. So I don't believe in really foretelling the future. I mean, there are aspects of being able to see a potential timeline and see potential consequences, but there's always choice points, an infinite amount of choice points that can happen between this now and that now on the chart. And so again, I just don't worry about it, and certainly don't consider myself a medium in that regard. However, again, I do know that there are people that claim to be able to have those gifts, and I'm not discounting those gifts. I'm just saying how it appears for me. I have to be in the vicinity of the other individual's auric fields so that I can actually physically feel their vibration, in conjunction with my vibration, and I have to be able to have eye contact with them. Okay. And as soon as I have that, it's like a perfect read. It's like a perfect transference of essentially what's emanating from them and what is inside of them. And that might be unnerving to some individuals. It is what it is. It's how I experience it. And I may be wrong, I may be right. I'm not even sure, 100% if what I perceive is always what I think it is. But I don't stress about it too much. Usually I'm dead on. Like usually if I have a feeling about it, and this is why I've come to trust it, within a few weeks, it self-explains itself. It's confirmed to me.